Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I want to talk about pain, people, as in the pain that inevitably surfaces once one stops anesthetizing themselves with food. So this is actually from one of my favorite daily self-help books, if you will, by the Hazelden Meditation Series. It's called Food for Thought. And of course, it has everything to do with people who have food as an issue in their life, which I most certainly do. And it's greatly complementary to things like Overeaters Anonymous. But this is a great talk, and it's actually from yesterday, November 6th, because it's, 365 days of talks. And this one is on pain. And it reads, living without the narcotic of excess food means learning to cope with emotional pain. Ideally, because if you don't have the tools, you're still not going to cope with it, but it will surface no matter what. Uncomfortable feelings, which we have covered up by eating, begin to surface as we abstain. At first, our emotional reactions are often vague and diffuse, since we have not yet acquired enough insight to identify what it is that's bothering us. Isn't that so true? I know with my monkey mind, or when I start obsessing about food, I'll start responding in very short sentences. My patience will be cut in half. I'll start having an attitude, and I won't necessarily identify it as obsessing with food, but inevitably that's where I go. So we may not be able to identify what's bothering us. Also, it might be a trigger, like something that happened in your past, and because there's body memories and certainly emotions, you'll be triggered by that, but may not be able to pinpoint it initially. So it says, if we're willing to stay with the emotional discomfort and pain, we will eventually gain understanding. And I think, again, that takes work, from journaling to meetings to doing an outreach call. It definitely takes some work to maybe clarify what that is, but we'll never get there, right? So it says sometimes we have to spend time hurting before we're able to pass through one phase in our development and move on to the next. Whatever the suffering, it's preferable to the agony of a binge. Facing emotional pain is constructive. Trying to bury it under food is destructive. And yeah, a binge is agonizing. Not only is it the physical discomfort, but it's also the emotional guilt that ravages certainly me when I eat food that isn't mine. It also chemically changes me, like immediately. When, like I said, I become very short-tempered. Things bug me. I get very negative and certainly self-centered because I'm focusing all on myself, right? From acquiring the binge to actually binging, to the discomfort of the binge, to the guilt of the binge. It's all about me, right? So I still get that. It says our pain is often associated with events in the past which are still troubling us unconsciously. And yeah, that's what I mean by like a body memory, by a person who looks all too familiar to that perpetrator, to some music that may have been in the background whenever the situation was going down. There's so many things that in the moment we're not consciously considering, but if we spend some time, we will recognize what it was that triggered us. When we're able to identify the source of the pain, we can examine it in the light of our present maturity and begin to put it behind us. So important. It's often said, certainly in 12-step programs, that whenever the offense took place, whether it was emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual, you tend to go back to that same age when you're triggered by it. So if you were 3 years old, you may come at it from a 3-year-old frame of mind. If you were 8 years old, 12 years old, 16 years old, you may emotionally be back in that age as you approach it in the present. So to go to the understanding of what your present maturity is, and to compartmentalize and realize that you are not in that unsafe place anymore, and in fact have gained many tools in your life where you are now, can be a saving grace. So it says, as long as we avoid feeling the pain, we deny ourselves the healing which our higher power can give us. And of course, for me, that's God of the universe. But he is very merciful. And if I'm in the food and things, I am absolutely saying, you're not seeing this, right, Father? You're not crediting this, right? Food is my idol and my God in this moment. So the mantra, if you will, is may I accept the pain which is necessary for continued growth. Beautiful, right? Okay, I'm going to go back. I don't know if I can connect it or not, so I'm going to go ahead and just reread it for you. Pain is the topic. Living without the narcotic of excess food means learning to cope with emotional pain. Uncomfortable feelings which we have covered up by eating begin to surface as we abstain. At first, our emotional reactions are often vague and diffuse, since we have not yet acquired enough insight to identify what it is that is bothering us. If we are willing to stay with the emotional discomfort and pain, we will eventually gain understanding. Sometimes we have to spend time hurting before we're able to pass through our phase in our development and move on to the next. Whatever the suffering, it's preferable to the agony of a binge. Facing emotional pain is constructive. Trying to bury it under food is destructive. Our pain is often associated with events in the past which are still troubling us unconsciously. When we are able to identify the source of the pain, we can examine it in the light of our present maturity and begin to put it behind us. As long as we avoid feeling the pain, we deny ourselves the healing which our higher power can give us. May I accept the pain which is necessary for continued growth. What do you think, people? Heavy duty and so true. I absolutely get it. And I'm just so happy to be spending some time again with the tools from the 12-step program and Overeaters Anonymous in particular, because going it alone has not served me, and I most certainly need more tools. I have been desperately in the food for some time. I don't just mean immediately, but I mean over the last, 10 years, 5 years, whatever. And I'm just happy to be getting back into some of the tools that got me well in the beginning before I lost my abstinence and got crazy. And now, of course, I have the additional tool of veganism and raw vegan and things that'll help me with my food. But it'll be my approach to food that absolutely will serve me in the long run. All right, my friends, if you like, join us. If you haven't, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. I need to give a shout out to Biden Harris. You know me, I'm so stoked that they won. Even though I get many people are hurting and some people will not accept that they won. And you know what? Trump has a right to ask for recounts. Anything within a 1%, I think it might be a 0.5%, but that's still a significant amount. You're allowed to ask for a recount. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of work over the next couple of months. But I hope it pans out. It appears that it's going to. And for those of you who are angry and upset and everything else, I so get it. Are you kidding me? 4 years ago, I not only voted for Hillary Clinton, but I was kicking it. Okay, me and Hill were doing brunches. We were doing dinner. We were doing what? Beverly Hills. She was my girl. Okay. Then she won 3 million in the popular vote and didn't get to serve. So when you're gonna say, "Hey, look, that's really insensitive of you. Trump was my candidate," I can at the very least say you had him for 4 years. Hillary didn't even get to serve at all. So I think I trumped you on that one. But anyway, peace be with you. It's going to be interesting. And until we talk again, best of all, my friends, know election results or not, you are blessed.